Before we look to the future, just a little bit of looking backwards. Top three themes that really came out of the year. We saw a lot in the comments around AI as the theme or the word of 2025. And, as we move from testing and experimentation to actually operationalizing AI, it's exposing some gaps. And then last but certainly not least, L&D is going through an identity crisis. Like, what is the role of learning and development in this new world?
What I think looking at 2025 is, and we see this internally, but also with all the clients that we work with and support in this area as well, is there's been such a massive surge of AI tools and discussion. A lot of people I speak with feel, I don't know whether people feel this as well, feel quite overwhelmed by it all around what do we use. There's so many tools in the market from, client simulation tools to AI coaches, AI mentors, AI buddies, all these technologies and all these capabilities sort of coming out. Where do you start and how do you make sense of it all? And really importantly as well is how do you make sure you don't just follow the tech for the tech's sake, that it's actually linked to a business need. We're actually doing things that are meeting a business need, just not following the technology. So
I think part of the identity crisis for L&D folks is aligning the best practices of science with well-being. So kind of building on what Megan was talking about in terms of the tent, that's why I put attention for me.
And I look at this a little bit not limited to the L&D lens because the kind of work that I do is supporting processes within the enterprise. It could include L&D, but it could be outside of L&D. And the question of how does AI impact those processes? I think organizations need a method of figuring that out, need a method of discerning what is the type of activity that really requires the human intervention, the human knowledge and perspective, and what are the kinds of activities that are kind of mundane and they're not building, they're kind of mundane kind of data entry kinds of things or something like that.
I'm loving this conversation. You just inspired a thought on the question of like skills versus roles. I'm framing it that way because that's the way that my instructor, I'm finishing up a Harvard course on agentic applications right now. And Dirk Hoffman, another great Dirk I know, he has an interesting perspective on this. And they're Stain Studios, they do AI implementation enterprise scale. He's saying now is not the time to redefine roles, that we should just focus on skills. We're still figuring out how to develop the right skills, which skills should be the focus, and wait until it becomes more clear. There's going to be so much shifting.
Great conversation around 2025, and we've sort of dipped our toe into the look ahead for 2026.
It's a big question to us to say simply having delivered value in the past doesn't mean that you have earned the right to do that. I know it's extremely provocative, but I question that myself as a recovering instructional designer. How do we continue to do that? So I think we have a huge opportunity to step in, and that is that put me in coach moment, because anytime there's a delta between what a human needed to do yesterday and what they need to do in the future, that's our sweet spot. But can we hit that? So
there will always be organizations, even though they'll take different forms and structures. There will always be change, as Dirk was just saying. There will always be people, and there will always be the need for knowledge and growth. So I look at it like there's always going to be an opportunity for us. We just have to be able to ourselves go with the changes and the growth and the mindset shift and the agility, all of that. So I think we'll all be around in some form or function.
So here are a couple key themes that came up in the research for this call. I think this has been covered in terms of, what work can AI do versus what work do humans do? And so how do you define, like, what are the tasks that are actually driving value for your organization? Skills is not going away, been a bright, shiny object for a couple years and continues to dominate the headlines as organizations are rethinking work through the lens of skills, which fuels talent planning, internal development, all that fun stuff. But I think the next iteration is power skills, right? Like, of the 100 skills that make up your job, like, what are the 5 that actually are the game changers? And AI acceleration. So where is AI accelerating our ability to do something versus just replacing capability?